Hello again. Today we are going to make a recipe that some might actually associate with the summertime, or at least the late summertime when the tomatoes are in season. But because of the world that we live in today, you can basically find tomatoes all year round. And when it's cold and wintry outside, sometimes it's nice to remind ourselves of summer. So today I'm going to show you how to make stuffed tomatoes. This is not necessarily a uniquely American dish, but tomatoes are actually a uniquely American product. These were first found in the Americas, and European explorers then took them back to Europe with them. The natives had been using them for years for various reasons, as well as eating. But the Europeans, when they took them back, mostly took them back as a novelty. They took back the seeds and grew them in their gardens just as a pretty plant. And it took a long time for them to really decide to give them a try and eat them. Actually, because of the red color and the bright shiny skin, a lot of Europeans thought that these would be poisonous. Thankfully for them and for us, they found out that they are not, and so we can make many, many delicious things out of them. Today, we're going to pull out all the insides, stuff them full of goodness, and they're going to be a wonderful winter day treat. So, what do you need to make stuffed tomatoes? Well, clearly, you're going to need some tomatoes. Depending on the size of your family, I would say 6 to 8. One tomato makes a really good meal for a person who doesn't want to eat too much. Some people might want 2, some people might only want to eat a half. So kind of gauge how many people are there, but I'm going to go with 6 today, and I think that'll be good. And also these are really good leftovers, so you can always make more, but you never want to make too little. Now, for the stuffing, you have a choice. You can either stuff them with rice, which is probably a more traditional way, but since moving to Russia, I've actually grown very fond of buckwheat. And so if you can find buckwheat in the United States, you're probably going to have to go to like a health store, but if you're in Russia, you'll probably be able to find it just in the grain aisle. But get some buckwheat. It's really good. It's a different flavor. It has a mouthfeel of rice, but it's a wonderful nutty flavor, and I think you'll really like it if you just give it a try. So try some buckwheat. You'll also need my staples, onion and garlic, and we'll want some cheese. Other than that, just for a little bit of flavor, we're going to have some olive oil and salt and pepper. That's it. If you have these things, and if you can find buckwheat, try it out. Otherwise, if you have rice around, that works too. That's all you're going to need to make some very wonderful stuffed tomatoes. In order to make stuffed tomatoes, you first have to prepare your tomato to actually be able to stuff it. First thing you want to do before you even start this process is set your oven. You're going to set it to about 350 degrees, which is about 180 degrees Celsius. So 350 in Fahrenheit, 180 in Celsius. That way, once it's heating, then you'll be ready to pop them in the oven when they're ready to go. So the way you're going to hollow out your tomato is quite simple. You just take it and you cut off the top of it. You're not going to cut off very much, maybe about a centimeter or so. And you don't need it, so you can toss it out. Or if you really like tomatoes, you can eat it. My mother loves to eat raw tomatoes. I personally like them cooked, so we're going to do that. Now, you can see that tomatoes are not hollow. They have these lovely pulpy areas. And so what you're going to want to do is you're going to actually want to scoop out the tomato pulp. And have a bowl handy, because you can just scoop it right into this bowl, just like this. And you'll find that you actually have not only the pulp in there, but there's actually some harder a core. So once you get most of the pulp out and into your bowl, then you're going to want to pull that core out. And you don't want to just toss it, because there's still a lot of really good tomato flavor in there. So what you want to do is just take your spoon in a circular motion like this and kind of pull it out. And then at that point, you can also kind of get out the rest of that pulp. And so what you should have when you finish that is just a nice hollowed out tomato. And so you've got your pulp here. What you want to do is just take a little bit of salt your tomato on the inside, and then just like I've pre-prepared these, you just want to put it face down, and you want to let your tomatoes drain for a little bit. So once you have your core out of your tomato, you actually will just kind of want to cut around it. You'll see that there's this white part. That's the part that you don't really want to have around, but there's still a lot of really good meat. So if you just take your knife and cut around the core, that way you're not wasting very much of it. You just toss out a little bit of it. And the rest of it, you're going to just chop up the pulp into a little bit smaller pieces. And then you're going to want to make sure that that gets into your bowl as well. Why? Well, I'll tell you why here in just a second. After that, you're going to want to cut up your onion and your garlic. And I would say a good sized onion, maybe half the size of your fist, so what I would call maybe a medium-sized onion. Red, white, yellow, doesn't matter, whatever you have around, whatever you like the best. I used the yellow onion today. And then probably 3 to 4 cloves of garlic. It depends on how much you like garlic. If you like garlic a lot, put in more. If you don't like it so much, put in less. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your onion and your garlic, finely chop it, and then you're going to saute it. And you have 2 choices here. You can saute it in butter, or you can saute it in olive oil. Now, olive oil is clearly the healthier choice, but onion and garlic sauteed in butter is just amazing. So that's completely up to you. I chose to do mine in butter today, but I promise we'll use that healthy olive oil a little bit later. So take your onion and garlic and just saute it. And you want to saute it for probably 5 to 7 minutes until your onion is a little bit see-through. And usually, here's a tip on sauteing onion and garlic. If you actually start sauteing the onion first and let it go for about 2 to 3 minutes and then put in your garlic, chances are your garlic won't burn. If you put them all in together, chances are those little tiny pieces of garlic will actually burn, and that doesn't necessarily hurt the flavor of the entire thing, but if they burn too much, then you can kind of get that smoky burn flavor in. So take my advice, start with the onions first, and then a couple minutes later add in your garlic. So what you're going to do then is you're going to add this tomato. This is the pulp from all 6 of these tomatoes. You can see there's quite a bit here. And you're just going to add that to your hot onion and garlic once you've got them sauteed. Now, if you're feeling particularly lazy, don't want to get another pot dirty, at this point you don't actually have to, you could skip this. I've made this with everything completely raw. But the problem with that is that you just don't get quite the melding of the flavors that you get if you do it this way. So that's up to you, it's your choice. But if you have an extra 5 minutes and don't mind sticking an extra pot in the dishwasher or washing the extra pot by hand, go ahead and do this step, it'll help. So, and you're just going to cook this, you're just going to let this simmer for about 5 minutes. And so just wait until the tomato is simmering in there, and this is helping to meld the flavors. You can help that out a little bit, add a little bit of salt, add a little bit of pepper. It's up to you if you like those things. If you don't like those things, don't add them in. If you're trying for a heart-healthy diet and you're not wanting to use salt, if you just add pepper, that's generally going to bring out the flavors without having to use the salt. So again, completely up to you. So while that's cooking, you are actually going to be making your buckwheat. Now, again, buckwheat rice, it's up to you. If you have a fancy rice cooker, use your fancy rice cooker, that's fine. If you don't, and you happen to live near this area of the world, this is the most marvelous invention anyone's ever come up with. These are the buckwheat groats, and if you Google buckwheat or if you look it up, they're actually, you probably have seen them before. They're about a little triangle, and they're really cute, and they're called buckwheat. And they come in these bags, and if you stick them in this bag, stick it in boiling water for 15 minutes, this buckwheat actually is going to double in size. It's going to fill this whole bag, and it's amazing. It's super easy. If you don't have those bags around, and all you can find are the loose buckwheat groats, Google how to cook buckwheat, 10-15 minutes on the stovetop in boiling water, and you will have a delicious buckwheat just like this. Now, this is, if you have those 2 bags, this is about 2 bags worth. This is going to be too much. If you're looking here and you see these, you're looking here, you see this, there's clearly too much of this to go stick back into there. That's fine. This is really good by itself. Use this, and we're going to mix it with the tomato mixture here in a minute. You can just eat this as a side. So once all of your tomatoes are gone, this is still something that you can consume. You can also stick it into a soup if you want to. There's lots of things you can do. So it's okay to overmake this particular, because it's really good, I promise. So once your tomatoes and onions and garlic have cooked it down just a little bit, then you're going to add this mixture to your buckwheat. And just make sure that you're doing it in a bowl that can handle warm temperatures. Either that, or you want to cook this in a bigger bowl. But I'm just going to put these back in here together. So I'm going to take all my buckwheat and pour it into this bigger bowl. And then I'm going to pour my tomato and onion and garlic on top of it. And this is going to be the filling for our tomatoes. And normally, you know, I'm the one who says, hey, it's okay, use your hands to mix things up. Don't use your hands to mix things up or you're going to burn yourself, and you'll be very sad because then you will have burnt hands. So use your spoon, mix it up, and this is going to be the delicious filling to your stuffed tomatoes. So we'll get to this in just a minute. Once you have your stuffing mix ready, then the last thing is to prepare the cheese. As per usual, you can use any kind of cheese that you like. I like a marbled cheese just because that's the kind of cheese that I like, but you can use any kind. A cheddar really works nicely here as well, and I've also done this with mozzarella. So really, it's up to you, whatever you like. And you're going to take the cheese and you're just going to cut it into sort of small pieces. That doesn't have to be anything specific, but you're going to want them in sort of like small little squares. I know in the States sometimes you can actually even buy like cubes of cheese. Those might actually be a little bit big. Shredded cheese will work as well if you can find shredded cheese. But if you just have a big brick, just cut it into sort of small pieces. These are actually going to get stuck down inside the tomatoes along with the stuffing. So if you have them pre-prepared, it's just going to make your life a lot easier. And so, on to the stuffing. This is how you do it. It is oh so simple. You take your tomato that has been resting for about a half an hour, and so it's a little bit drier inside, and you take a heaping spoonful or so of your stuffing. And what you want to do is you want to put it in there and then kind of smash it down a little bit, because if you don't, then you're going to have a lot of space in there and you're not going to have as much delicious goodness. So smash it down and give yourself more of the stuffing. Then you're just going to take some of your cheese and sprinkle it in there and kind of smash it down a little bit. And then take another spoonful. Isn't this terribly tough? And you're just going to smash it down in there. And you're going to level it out so that it's maybe just a little bit heaped over the top. So you can actually take your spoon and kind of heap it over the top that way. Then take a few more pieces of your cheese, smush them down in there so that you can see them. And voila, you have a stuffed tomato. Technically, this is edible. You can serve this to someone, but if there's someone who doesn't particularly love raw tomatoes, they're not going to be very happy with this. So my suggestion is to stick them into a pan, and we're going to bake them here in just a little bit. So once more, to stuff the tomato, oh so tough. Take your spoonful, smush it down a little bit, take some cheese, smush that down in there, another spoonful or two to round off the top, and take a couple pieces of cheese, press them into the top, and let that stuffed tomato join its fellow. Put them so that they are sort of touching each other. They don't have to be crowded, but if they're lightly touching, that's going to help kind of all the heat to absorb and stay in there and cook down. What you're going to do, once you fill up your pan, my pan's going to hold about 6. If you have a bigger pan, you might be able to put in 8, depending on the size of your tomatoes. These are going to go into your oven. You're going to bake them again at 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 180 degrees Celsius for 25 to 30 minutes. And you're going to bake them until the tomato is just starting to wilt. And if you've ever seen kind of a tomato that's been left too long on the vine, or that's the last tomato that's been sitting on the grocery store shelf, you know what I mean by wilt. It looks like the skin of the tomato is kind of getting old and saggy. That's not what you want when you buy your tomato, but when you're baking them for stuffed tomatoes, that's exactly what you want. Just a little bit of that wilt. That shows you that the tomato is fully cooked, and it's going to be amazing. So come back in 30 minutes and we'll have the final product for you. So after about a half an hour in the oven, this is what your stuffed tomatoes should be looking like. And let me try and get out of here. It's going to actually start falling apart, but that shows that it's actually done. But if you turn it and kind of do it that way, or if you want it this way, so you're going to have, you can see it's just starting to do this wilting. The skin of the tomato is just sort of starting to peel off. And of course your cheese on the top is all nice and melty and gooey. And the cheese on the inside will be the same way. Before I put these in the oven, something I forgot to show you is I did drizzle a little bit of olive oil over the top. You can also drizzle butter over the top. You can also skip that step, but what it does is it kind of ensures that it doesn't stick to your pan, and it also just adds a little bit more moisture down inside of the tomato. You can use this recipe with tomatoes. You can also use it with eggplant, zucchini, squash, anything that you can hollow out, potato even, you can do this with. So it's a fun recipe to play around with, and I hope that it is easy enough that it makes you want to go out and try it. So good luck, leave us a comment and let us know how it works out for you.